rocked by another deadly shooting. Gunfire rings out at Fort Hood.
You can just feel the intensity and the sense of fear in the area.
Tonight, the latest developments on the shooting. Plus, piecing together a fiery crash.
After a speeding car went out of control and into this store, police still have unanswered questions.
Eyewitness News at 11 starts right now.
Live from WFSB, Connecticut's #1 local news. This is Channel 3 Eyewitness News at 11.
We begin tonight with that developing news from Texas. Another shooting at Fort Hood. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Hena Daniels. Dennis is off. A gunman went on a shooting spree, killing at least 3 people, then turning the gun on himself. 16 others are wounded. Tonight, we're learning there was no link to terror, and the gunman was a soldier diagnosed with PTSD. Channel 3's Alexis Christophorus is live tonight from Texas with more.
There were reports of an active shooting at Fort Hood around 4:30 in the afternoon. Officials say there's no indication the shooting was related to terrorism. This is not the first time Army and local law enforcement have responded to a mass shooting on the base. Sources tell CBS News that the man who went on a shooting spree at Fort Hood, Texas, is dead. Shots rang out on the base this afternoon, and officials quickly put out a tweet asking all those on site to shelter in place. Emergency crews are on the scene. Several people are injured.
We've had 4 patients that are actually here now and 2 more that are en route. They've had a variety of injuries that we've been treating, ranging from gunshot wounds that involved extremities, abdomen, chest, and neck.
President Obama spoke about the shooting in Chicago.
We are going to get to the bottom of exactly what happened. We're heartbroken that something like this might have happened again.
Fort Hood was the scene of a mass shooting in 2009. 13 people were killed and more than 30 hurt after Army psychiatrist Nidal Hasan opened fire. Hasan was convicted and sentenced to death last year for that shooting. Hasan said he was inspired by an al-Qaeda cleric. The gunman was described as a married Iraq war veteran. He was being considered for treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder and was taking medications. It's unclear at this point what may have been the motive for this latest attack. Live in New York, I'm Alexis Christophorus. Now back to you.
Thank you, Alexis. We will continue to follow the latest on the Fort Hood shooting, and you can get updates on our website 24/7. Just head to WFSB.com. Our other big story tonight. Back at the scene of a fiery crash after a car careens off the highway and right into a convenience store. Tonight, police are back at the scene of the crime trying to reconstruct it. Channel 3's Matthew Campbell is live from that Fairfield gas station with more on just what they're trying to learn. Matthew.
Well, Hannah, police say this driver was speeding down this ramp of 95, crashing into 6 cars here at the Cumberlands before crashing into the store itself. Now, police want to find out 2 things. The first, how fast this driver was going, and second is if this ramp truly is dangerous. Caught on tape and isolated in this circle, you can see how fast police say 31-year-old Rosa Blanca Chavarria Medina was going last week when they say she pulverized 6 cars and took out the front window to this Cumberland Farms on Kings Highway in Fairfield.
The operator of that vehicle was traveling probably 60+ miles an hour.
Police closing down the block and exit 24 off 95 to recreate the mayhem. It wasn't the Nissan Maxima Medina was driving last week, but police running this cruiser through the Cumberland Farms lot 4 times at speeds of 30, 32, and 38 miles an hour.
That range is going to allow us to actually calculate whether she was going between 60 and 80.
Medina was arrested for drunk driving, driving with a suspended license, and more. She's in custody and facing immigration questioning. Police are using this near disaster as a learning lesson, trying to determine if this ramp is currently providing an easy path for other chaotic episodes.
This is where we have to actually go out and gather as much physical evidence as we could and scientific evidence and actually put it all together and then let the appropriate agencies know this information so that we can hopefully try to create a much safer environment now and for the future.
Now, again, you can see how this ramp really provides a straight shot right into the Cumbies. Now, all of the results will be presented over to the state as soon as they get them. The exact speed of how fast this driver was traveling, that should be known by Friday, and police say they're going to be using that to help them in their prosecution. That is the latest. Live with the mobile newsroom here in Fairfield tonight, Matthew Campbell, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, Matthew, thank you. Also all new tonight, followed on the way to school tonight, a former registered sex offender is under arrest, accused of stalking a teenager in Hartford. Police say this man, Jose Gonzalez, harassed the 16-year-old over the last 2 weeks, even tried to get in her car. Investigators were able to identify Gonzalez, and he was arrested. Police say he was busted in the past for public indecency. A Vernon man under arrest at this late hour, accused in some disturbing cases of sexual abuse. Investigators say Daniel Wine assaulted 2 young girls. They were 12 and 14 years old. In one case, police say Wine snuck up on one of the girls while she was sleeping, put his finger in her mouth, and then exposed his genitals to her. They say he also took nude pictures with one of the victims. He faces a slew of charges tonight, including sexual assault. Police on the shoreline are sending out a warning to parents about an elaborate kidnapping scam. Darien police say the caller says a child has been involved in a car crash and that he or she is now being held hostage by a gang member. Police say the scammer then demands money and says if they don't get it, the child will be tortured. Investigators say you should write down the number of the caller and contact police immediately if you get this call. New developments tonight on some schools in jeopardy. Parents in Manchester say they are livid about the potential plans to close 2 schools. Tonight they spoke out, saying their kids won't get the attention they deserve. Channel 3's Tina Martin is live in Manchester, where a packed meeting just got out. Tina, what do they have to say?
Hena, you're right. The meeting was packed here at the high school auditorium, and most of the parents told us tonight that they believe the Board of Ed is thinking about money and not about the kids.
We don't want the school to close, that we're willing to come up with a solution if we have to pay a little more taxes so the schools can stay open.
I don't think that they have the children's best interests at heart. I think that's the biggest thing, and you're going to find a lot of angry parents and a lot of empty houses in the town of Manchester.
Parents came and spoke in front of the Manchester Board of Education members tonight for hours, upset about a potential plan to close the Washington and Robertson elementary schools. The Board of Ed says the plan will save the town money by not having to put thousands worth of renovations into those older schools. They'll instead move the current students to other schools.
We're going to be expanding Verplank and Waddell elementary schools, and the current plan that the board supports would be to close Washington and Robertson.
The 2 expanded schools will increase to over 500 students and likely raise taxes to finance the expansions.
And they'll just be another serial number.
Christina Diaz has a son at the Robertson school, and while the board says another reason for the switch is to create more racial balance, she tells us
the minorities together and leaving the affluent communities untouched.
The issue is really not around buildings, but around the change in the makeup of our community. It's become a much more diverse community, and I think we need to grow as a community, and this is one of those steps that we need to take.
And now the board is set to vote on this on Monday. If they do make a vote to support the plan to close the Washington and Robertson schools, that will then go to the Board of Trustees and eventually will end up in the lap of voters. We're live with the mobile newsroom in Manchester tonight. Tina Martin, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Tina. Now a story you will see only on 3.
My baby does not want to go on field trips anymore.
His little girl was left alone on the school bus. Now this frustrated father is speaking out. He says he's disappointed with the punishment handed down to 3 school employees who accidentally left his 4-year-old daughter alone and terrified. Waterbury district officials say the Maloney Magnet preschool student fell asleep on the ride back from a field trip, and the driver went to lunch. She woke up and climbed out through the emergency exit in the back. Luckily, a Good Samaritan spotted her and helped her. Tonight, Ronnie Key is hoping to personally thank that woman.
There's really not much I can do. I don't have $1 million, $2 million to give her, but if I just want to do something on the smallest scale if I can, just to tell her I appreciate her.
The girl's teacher and a bus driver were suspended for 2 weeks, and Aide received a 1-week suspension. She was mauled by a chimpanzee and left with life-changing injuries. Tonight, Charla Nash has lost her bid to sue the state. In the 2009 attack, Nash lost her nose, lips, eyelids, and hands. She argued that under a law that prohibits owning primates weighing more than 50 pounds without a permit, the state had the power to remove the chimpanzee from her friend's Stanford home. But they never did. Nash was trying to sue the state for $150 million, but the state denied the suit for a second time. This was the last appeal Nash had. She did get $4 million, though, from the estate of the chimpanzee's owner, her friend, Sandra Harold. Still ahead tonight at 11. A last goodbye to one of Boston's bravest, the moving tribute for a firefighter who died in that 9-alarm blaze. Plus, how his widow received a truly amazing gift to remember him. Then, faced with a painstaking decision, forced to decide over beating cancer or bringing a new life into the world. Tonight, one couple's inspirational story.
From dry and mild to cool and damp, that sums up the rest of the work week. But what about the first weekend of April? I'll tell you why timing could be on our side.
Thank you, Bruce. Plus, talk about a rock and a hard place, how this little boy got